Hey everybody, it's Mike Venus and I'm back. And I want to say, first and foremost, shout out to William Butler on the Akai Force group page on Facebook for clarifying and basically echoing what I said months ago, that the Akai Force is a sampler, a sequencer, and a synthesizer, not a DAW. And he clarified it by basically saying the workflow that you will have to take on this machine is a sample based workflow or a MIDI based workflow. You cannot take this on and think it's going to replace your laptop or the power of your desktop. Understand, the Akai Force comes with 2 gigs of RAM. The NPCs as well, but we're going to focus on the Force because that's the topic of the day. 2 gigs of RAM, right, to process. Now, yes, they put disk streaming on here, and believe me, I got a terabyte in here. I would strongly suggest that, but I don't really save a lot of stuff on that. I just usually have it in there to help boost the speed. You know what I'm saying? And but this streaming is not going to turn your Akai Force, no matter if you got a 2 terabyte in there, on the level of a laptop, a basic laptop. You know what I'm saying? Or a basic entry level desktop. Because those computers have more processing power. It has more RAM. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that because a lot of people misunderstand the Force and approach it from a DAW workflow, they miss the boat. Okay. It's kind of like I used the example with Machine, right? Machine came up with the Machine Plus, right? Now, what was Machine's bread and butter? Machine was really created their own lane of creating this hybrid setup where you have this fully tactile MIDI controller that's set up to control the machine software or can be used in other DAWs, right? While giving you this tactile feel of the machine controller, right? But then Machine tries to do the standalone thing. That's not their lane. And even though they have great products with their setup, a lot of people who jumped to it didn't realize that this is their first attempt at this. And this is not really their strength. Their strength is software, hardware setup, a hybrid setup. Let's go with Akai. Akai's strength has been years of perfecting a sampler, MIDI sequencing type setup. Okay? That's really where their strength lies. It's not in software, and it's not really in these hybrid kind of setups. It's mainly dealing with hardware synthesizers. Hardware samplers and sequencers. Okay? Knowing that, and knowing that that's their bread and butter, this machine is similar to the MPC workflow. It just has a different form factor, different layout, and it emphasizes a different way of laying down patterns and creating loops compared to the MPC workflow. But they're very similar, meaning that they are driven by a sample-based, MIDI-based workflow. Okay? So, speed it up, right? When I said this, which the video was, like I said, was geared towards YouTube, not Facebook, but I just put it in there because just for anybody that might have this machine and be dealing with the struggles of trying to use it, but they're using it in a DAW-like workflow, okay? That's what the video was for. I caught a lot of backlash. Mr. Williams, he agreed with me, but, you know, hey, somebody got to be, the one that say it to make it make sense. So with this, my best suggestion is to get to know the different tracks. If you know the number of tracks that you have in this machine, you will kind of know where the strength lies. The strength lies in the Force is in the MIDI and sample bass tracks. Your sample bass tracks will be like your drum track and your key group track, okay? And then your MIDI tracks will be like MIDI. What's the other one? MIDI, plug-in. But we'll do it in order. It'll be your MIDI tracks, your CV tracks, and then it will be your plug-in track, and then your audio track. Because your plug-in track you get 8, and your audio track you get 8. But the sample bass tracks, drum track, key group, infinite. You can have as many as the machine can process. MIDI tracks, which is, you can use them if you route the MIDI properly. You can use them to trigger other tracks, right? Or you can use those to trigger external gear. So it can use to route and can trigger internal sounds or external sounds. Okay. And those are infinite. That's the CV tracks. That's the MIDI tracks. Okay. These are your if you have a firm understanding of these tracks, you can do a lot with this machine. I mean, you could do a lot. But you gotta understand that the weakness of this machine is the audio tracks and the amount of plug-in tracks. Which, if you want to be honest, most of the plug-in tracks is basically sample bass instruments. That's what it really is. It's the point of that is whenever you use program changes on the internal tracks, it takes about at least a beat before it switched to the sound. So that kind of give you the indication that these are sample based instruments. So really, the best way to use this machine is to go and I encourage you to go and do the history on Akai. That's what I did, to learn the Force and learn the MPC, to appreciate its journey from its roots from the Roger Lynn 60, 62, right? What did he make the 2000? I think so. Maybe the three. No, it was 2000. I think so. I might be wrong. Don't crucify me. Up to the modern day NPCs, so that you can understand how this machine really works and how it has progressed over the years to where it's at now, and it'll give you a appreciation of the legacy of these machines, and really help you to solidify your workflow. Okay, so once again, shout out to William for putting that post up there and helping these people out, that to get them to firmly understand the idea that the Akai Force is a sampler and a sequencer. That's really where its strength lies. Synthesizer, not as much, but hey, you make it do what it do, okay? And I say either use it either as a sampler or as a sequencer, but not try to make it do too much because it's only got 2 gigs of RAM, even with the disc streaming. So keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, hopefully, I don't know, maybe I might do, because that ain't giving away my workflow, but I could do some of a tutorial or at least go through the basics of some of these tracks so that you can kind of understand. And it's interchangeable with the software, but on the software you get more audio tracks. So, that's up to you if you really want to use the MPC software, right? But we talking about standalone. It's got infinite amount of drum tracks, key group tracks, MIDI tracks, CB tracks, which is another MIDI track, 8 audio tracks, and 8 plug-in tracks max per project. And you really don't want to kind of do too much with the plugins because it can start really eating up the memory and the CPU. So you want to keep the CPU down, sample, resample, loop, you know what I'm saying? Chop it up, put it in a drum track or auto sample to create your instruments. You know what I'm saying? And with that, hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, I just want to shout out William Butler for his help in the Akai Force group. It's much appreciative. And thank you for echoing what I stated before, that the Akai Force is a sampler, is a sequencer, and a synthesizer. And that for you to get the most out of this machine, you got to approach it in that perspective to really understand it. And also, it doesn't hurt to really know the company and their legacy pertaining to their hardware devices. So go check that out. And with that, y'all be blessed. Have a great weekend. Until next time, Mike out.